And welcome back to Square Off. We are continuing our debate with the two candidates for Maricopa County Attorney, Democrat Julie Gunnigle and Republican County Attorney Rachel Mitchell. I want to go back to the abortion issue you raised earlier. Polls show voters are concerned about abortion rights. And within 2 weeks, a judge could lift the injunction that will allow Arizona's abortion ban to take effect. There are only exceptions in cases of to save the life of the mother. Rachel Mitchell, you told me a few months ago, I think, right here, that when it came to cases of rape or incest, you would not want to re-victimize the victim, and so would not prosecute. Mm-hmm. Do you still feel that way?
Absolutely. Bram, I've spent 25 years working with rape and incest victims. And while people talk about these things as hypotheticals, women getting pregnant through rape or children getting pregnant through molestation, these aren't hypotheticals. These are real names. They're real faces to me. And I absolutely would not re-victimize them. This is, they have been victimized enough.
There have been unintended consequences as a result of this Supreme Court decision. One of them has to do with women's use of medication abortion, abortion pills. Arizona bans the use of telemedicine to obtain an abortion or obtain these medications to prescribe an abortion pill. The provider could lose their license. Would you pursue a telemedicine provider who prescribed an abortion pill?
You know, Bram, I'm waiting for first of all, for the courts to tell me what the law is, because as you know, and as Ms. Gunnigle pointed out, we have several laws on the books. I'm going to look at every case that comes in the door, regardless of what type of case it is, and I make decisions every day. That means I'm going to look at the likelihood of getting a conviction on that. Obviously, that's a very strong factor against getting a conviction on that, but I feel like it's inappropriate for me as a prosecutor to say, just without looking at a case, here's the decision I'm going to make. I'm sworn to uphold the law. I'm going to uphold the law. That means I'm going to look at every single case, and I'm going to apply our standard of reasonable likelihood of conviction. If that is the law, then I'm going to look at the case if it is submitted to me.
Julie Gunnigle.
Respectfully, that's BS. I was an Arizona woman in 2018 watching Rachel Mitchell in the Senate trying to run cover for Justice Kavanaugh, who ended up reversing Roe v. Wade. What I experienced and what sexual assault survivors in Arizona experienced was knowing that our county attorney does not trust or respect women and is willing to attack survivors on the national stage and bring shame to Arizona. This administration has been more of the same, and even under her leadership, she has for 5 years not charged any cases of rape even on ASU's campus. Our sexual assault clearance rate in the city of Phoenix is lower than 9%, which means that those brave people that Rachel Mitchell claims to help and support, in only 9% of the cases will they ever be an arrest, and in fewer than 2% of those cases will there ever be a conviction. Arizona voters are smart, and it disrespects our intelligence to tell us that somehow Rachel Mitchell is caring about women and will care when they seek an abortion after rape or incest, or frankly, any situation, because your body does not need to be violated before you have access to fundamental reproductive rights.
Rachel Mitchell, you were a sex crimes prosecutor for many years. Mm-hmm. Your response?
Well, first of all, let me talk about the Kavanaugh hearing. That was an incredible honor to be asked to go back and ask Dr. Ford questions in a responsible manner based on the research. I was not hired to run cover. I was not hired to cross-examine her. I was hired because I'm a national expert in how to interview people who are making these types of allegations. At the end of the questioning, when I went to shake the attorney's hands that represented Dr. Ford took my hand and said, "Thank you." So for Ms. Gunnigle to act like this was an abusive situation, quite the opposite. I was brought in for the opposite. I watched Anita Hill get questioned, and I was horrified by the questions, and I leapt at the opportunity to do it differently and do it better.
To the specific points that Julie Gunnigle raises about the non-prosecution and in particular on ASU's campus of alleged rape, how do you respond to that?
Well, the statistics that she's citing, and this goes back to some of the things she's talking about, I don't think she understands what the county attorney's office does. She's citing about clearance rates with the police departments. I don't control the police departments. In terms of ASU, those numbers have frustrated the heck out of me because they are dealing with a dynamic that no other agency is dealing with. So what I've done to address that is I've put together multiple trainings so that we can improve the prosecution and the investigation of those cases. They have been hailed as very successful, and in fact, we have a case right now from ASU pending for trial. What is not going to help those cases is turning against the police officers, putting a unit together to target police, to defund the police. Ms. Gunnigle promoted taking $25 million out of the Phoenix police budget that she's now blaming for not clearing cases. And she's also wanting to reduce bail. We want them in custody. They're dangerous to society. Yes, I care about women. Yes, I care about children. My career demonstrates that.
Julie Gunnigle, you say you want to make smart, data-driven reforms. We have what Rachel Mitchell said, wanting to defund the police. You describe the police department as corrupt. And I do have one specific question. It has to do with your campaign team. Bruce Franks Jr., who was part of the BLM group that was arrested and later all charges were dropped, is your highest paid consultant. What should that tell police, prosecutors about where you stand on criminal justice and those kinds of issues?
Sure. I mean, to return to the subject for 1 second, it's now my opponent who doesn't understand what the county attorney's office does, because the county attorney's office does not fund police budgets, has never funded police budgets, has never passed a police budget. And if she is so concerned about police funding, the appropriate place to turn is to run for city council. Nevertheless, what it should tell the world that Bruce Franks Jr. is on my team, should tell the world that I have hired a democratically elected Missouri senator who experienced gun violence at a very young age and passed one of the most comprehensive public health bills in Missouri history on the issue. It should tell people that he is an Oscar-nominated documentary star that has put his literal life and body on the line in defense of Black lives and has been community involved and community driven since arriving here in Phoenix. So if County Attorney Mitchell wants a character debate, she really ought to stick with me because Bruce Franks Jr. is out of her league.
Bruce Franks Jr. stepped down from his role in Missouri because of financial irregularities in his campaign. Bruce Franks Jr. is about as corrupt as they get, and he is so anti-police that he has led many, many demonstrations to defund the police, to go after police officers. I mean, he's perfect for Ms. Gunnigle. They're a perfect set because they hate the police officers. And as far as evidence-driven, I'll show you the evidence. We don't have to look any further than San Francisco to see what that type of policy results in. It results in our community not being safe. I don't think that the police get a pass. I don't think that they should not be held accountable. I myself have prosecuted police officers. I've put police officers in prison. But the majority of those people are putting on their uniform and they're doing a great job keeping us safe. And to defund them and to target them is going to destroy the agencies that we have here, like we've seen. I understand where she's coming from. She's coming from Chicago. That's where she learned to prosecute. That's what they do there. I don't want this to be Chicago or San Francisco.
No, Bram, I need to respond.
15 seconds, please, because our time's running out. I do want to get to one more.
Sure, I mean, respectfully, that's why the DOJ is in town, because the county attorney's office has been so irresponsible in its commitment to hold all people equally accountable under the law. An independent unit for police use of force to clear those backlogs and to assure citizens that those cases will be resolved promptly and with fairness and free of the conflicts of interest inherent in prosecution is absolutely the key.
Voters are concerned about rising violence. Numbers show they jumped in 2020 but have leveled off across many categories, gun violence also rising. I'm going to ask you each to summarize the policy, your approach to this problem.
My approach is simple. We are going to hold people accountable who commit crimes. We are not going to institute the policies that my opponent would institute, where we don't hold them accountable for certain crimes, such as lower level thefts. We've seen the results of that. We're going to hold them accountable for drug offenses. Ms. Gunnigle doesn't want to do that. Now, that doesn't mean we can't give them diversion. When somebody is an addict and they need help, we have a very, very successful and robust diversion program. and I want to increase that. But to allow people who are dealing drugs to just get a pass, I'm not going to do that. Fentanyl is a crisis in our county. Children are dying from fentanyl, and we need to start addressing that. Obviously, the open border has contributed to that.
I'm going to have to end it there.
Okay.
Julie Gunnigle, your policy for dealing with rising crime across all categories.
The county attorney needs to run against me and my platform and not invented policy pieces. What I have said time and time again is that our county attorney can make our communities safer and save us money by engaging in root cause analysis. That means that we treat gun violence, addiction, and mental health issues as the public health crisis that they are. That means a commitment to treatment in these areas, and it means that we stop this cycle of over-incarceration, where people enter our jails and prisons, receive no help, and re-enter society ill-equipped to join us. If we were willing to engage in data-driven reforms through this office, not only would it save taxpayers $250 million a year and take us back to the national average, which is none of those cities, by the way, it's the state of Utah, we would all be safer in addition to having our public health priorities funded.
Got to end this segment there.